FLM, wide open thinking, world-class work, and far-reaching results. Now with locations in Minneapolis, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Washington, D.C. All dedicated to serving clients who specialize in the business of agriculture and the life of rural communities.
Well, it's been another busy week in Washington, and we'd like to provide an update for farmers and ranchers on some of the key issues that are impacting their businesses. First and foremost, the Farm Bill made some progress this week, and we're delighted to report that both the House and the Senate have the ability now to go to conference. The Senate passed their Farm Bill earlier this summer, and last week the House passed a farm-only Farm Bill that was lacking in the nutrition title. It was set aside in order to win conservative support after a stunning Farm Bill defeat on June 20th in the House of Representatives. So where are they now? Well, the Senate did receive the House bill earlier this week and then gained unanimous consent after some very intense discussions yesterday to get the bill sent back to the House of Representatives so they can both appoint conferees. However, Majority Leader Cantor is working with House Agriculture Committee Leader Chairman Frank Lucas and about 20 or so other Republicans to try to find a path forward on a nutrition-only bill. The House has been reluctant to pass and to move to conference until they get this nutrition-only path forward figured out. So we are waiting for the House and Senate to appoint conferees and for the House of Representatives to figure out how they can advance a nutrition-only bill that then can be conferenced back with the Senate version. As it stands now, the Senate version cuts $4 billion out of the food stamp and nutrition portion of the bill, but the House version that was defeated in June 20th cut $20.5 billion. So we remain to be convinced that the House is going to stick at that $20.5 billion level, but we will have to wait and see what kind of a compromise they can figure out that will gain enough support in the House of Representatives to make some kinds of reforms in the food stamp program. Absent any official action before September 30th, the Farm Bill will expire. And then we will be facing some of the same issues that we did last year with the advancement of permanent law kicking in at the end of the year and the dairy cliff. No one, of course, wants to see that happen, and that's why the House also included in their split farm bill a repeal of permanent law from the 1938 and 1949 provisions that would establish the 2013 bill as permanent law. So there's a lot of things that have to be played out yet before we see what might be final passage, or in the absence of any kind of a compromise and approval of final conference provisions in both the House and the Senate, then we will perhaps be seeing a replay of what we did last year in another extension. Of course, no one wants to go that way forward, and optimism always springs eternal in farm country. We hope that they can reach an agreement. On two other fronts, there was a nomination of Gina McCarthy to be the new administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, and Gina McCarthy's nomination was approved in the Senate this week on a 59-40 vote. She's someone who's going to face a very tough row to hoe in implementing some of the climate change provisions that have been advanced by the Obama administration, but she's been really well received out in farm country when she has been touring. For example, I had a chance to visit with her on an Iowa farm a couple of years ago, and she really is supportive of renewable energy, especially ethanol and biodiesel. And I think you're going to see a lot more of her out in the heartland of America as she tries to improve the relationship that farmers and ranchers would like to have with her as the head of EPA. Last but not least, Michael Froman, the new head of the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, was testifying before the House Ways and Means Committee this week. He talked about some of the ongoing trade negotiations. For example, last week we had negotiators from the European Union in Washington talking about the Transatlantic Trade Investment Partnership negotiations that are really getting off to a good start in the nation's capital last week. Those negotiations are ongoing. We are also on the cusp of a negotiation called the Trans-Pacific Partnership that would be a historic trade deal with a lot of the Pacific Rim countries, including Japan. He thought that the TPP negotiations are still difficult but doable. So he's very optimistic that there could be a deal on TPP by the end of the year. However, Froman mentioned that he is concerned about sequestration and other budget cuts that are curtailing the ability of USTR to do its job to really advance trade. And obviously, anything we can do to enhance exports in American agriculture is very, very important to the bottom line and future profitability of our farmers and ranchers. So with that, we'd like to make sure that you stay up to date with additional farm coverage of policy issues by checking out our website at www.agri-pulse.com. See you next week.